Alright guys, welcome back to another Conqueror Ranked Cast. We've got Minimoult as the blue Abbasid player up against the red HRE player in PSiArc. We just saw PSiArc dismantle someone on this map in a deli mirror. Be interested to see how he goes on HRE, but he's up against Minimoult, a new face, a new opponent. Minimoult going for a second scout. PSiArc is going for a second scout himself in this matchup. So he wants to go for the early map control. We did see him bust out a single scout opening in a deli mirror. So PSiArc, also known as Koinu, best player in Japan, up against Minimoult, who I believe is an AoE3 pro, swapping over. PSiArc coming from StarCraft 2 himself. So house going down now, followed by a house of wisdom for Minimoult. Just been gathering food so far. Even going for the 7th villager on the food. While PSiArc gathering 4 vills on the gold. The early prelate now starting for free for HRE. I think it originally wasn't. It must have originally been in the beta and they took it off them, and now they've added it back to them. And they are insane early on. PSiArc realizing he can empower another couple of vills over here first. It's good that you got that little icon to tell you how close you are to hitting the next golden age tier. So this is a little boon that Abbasid gets for every building that they've got chained up like this next to other buildings, connected up to the House of Wisdom. They gain contribution towards a huge boost. It's just 10% all gathering to start with, but then it becomes 15 and 15% research, then 20% to both of those and production speed. So a hefty bonus to the late game and even mid game Abbasid. So early Arch and Chapel here for PSiArc. He's not worried about putting it around the gold. So he must really be wanting to play around a food, wood, eco, going for early pressure, I think. So maybe looking to go for Horseman Archer or Spearman Archer and really putting the pressure to Minimoult, putting the sword to his opponent. Minimoult likewise. For now, seems like a fairly standard fairly standard Abbasid opening. Where from here he might even go towards the quick fresh foodstuffs. That's why he's gathering so much early gold. Wants to also get wheelbarrow and then look at going for a second town center. Hasn't started any stone gathering yet, but with this build you don't get it until a little bit later on, till you've got the gold for fresh foodstuffs ready to go, as well as wheelbarrow, which you can take now. Nice to see Minimoult fighting Villager v Scout. It sort of puts your opponent in the mood that they don't really want to stick around here. Because as much as the Scouts regen health, and there we go, wheelbarrow coming in. As much as the Scouts regen health, and they will slowly kill a Villager if left to go. If you just sort of wait till your opponent lowers their guard and have the Villagers focus the Scout, you can look at taking quite a bit of health off it for minimal gathering interruption. So now Minimoult going to focus more on the gathering. Getting PSiArc Scout low. Both these players have very good control though, so it's unlikely one of them's going to drop a Villager, one of them's going to drop a Scout. You just see a bit of damage being taken, a bit of gathering time being lost. So Minimoult has the gold for fresh foodstuffs here, I believe, or nearly has the gold for it. So we wanted to go for that and then look at getting his second town center. While PSiArc sets up to... What the fuck is PSiArc looking to do? Mainly play defensive on his gold for now and just sit here and chill, get his own wheelbarrow. Malt's tower is going to finish up and he'll be able to deny scout harass, because what's better than relying on your villagers trying to melee them is just have them shoot arrows from the tower. So PSiArc now going to try and interrupt Minimoult's gold gathering, because he's now got fresh foodstuffs inbound. So next thing will be a town centre. And because Minimoult is going to be up against the tower there, PSiArc can always just put a low villager in there and have it shoot away at the scouts. So, PSiArc dropping a villager or being harassed. And Minimoult, is he going to try and go for 3 town centers through this? Oh no, never mind. I was going to say, was that a town center? That's the stables. I take that back. So PSiArc, a slight lapse in control, dropping the scout. But he's also prevented Minimoult from actually being able to attack with the scout. And he's going to try and scout out a couple last sheep. He's not really going to find anything. So Molt now going to go for second town center, maybe just in the middle of the deer. Yeah, just in the middle of the deer, because this way it acts like a massive mill where it presses right to the edge of where the deer are going to be. It's quite easy to focus them all down. See, nearly all of them are going to be in range of, well, nearly right next to the town center. So very minimal drop-off time, but we're going to see a very aggressive response here from PSiArc, who is going straight to castle, and he hasn't actually empowered his gold at all, but he didn't really need to. He's just relying on empowering his food eco, and he's got the wood to get a couple of stables out, so he'll be able to go for some quick night pressure. So probably go for the Regnitz. All the recent HRE games I've seen him play, he's gone for a Regnitz Cathedral. So even though the Burgrave is quite a powerful tool for punishing your opponent for playing too greedy or playing sloppy, the Regnitz really lets you play a nice macro game, because you're gonna have 2 to 3 prelates at this stage anyway. Koinu's only got 1, but he'll probably look at queuing another up because he's gathering quite a bit of gold there. So Molt trying to pressure him. Now Molt, double town center production, so he has that advantage over PSiArc. So if left to his own devices, he will get a villager lead, but PSiArc knows this. He's deliberately gone for this sort of build because he gets early access to knights as early as they're going to be out. For a HRE player, he's got, you know, all the tools at his disposal. Yeah, there we go, a second prelate before the age up finishes. You can possibly even squeeze in a third. Actually, yeah, he's going to do that. He's going to squeeze in a third. So throw down the Regnitz, add 2 prelates while you're aging, and you know, you can not only just empower that a little bit more, means you can immediately go and grab the relics while there's only scouts out in the map to try and kill them, and immediately follow up with knights to defend your prelates. So this is looking really, really healthy for Koinu here. Really sharp HRE play. So Molt, in the meanwhile, still stuck in feudal, but he's getting his castle age now, so it's not that much further behind. He does have horseman production, bearing in mind, so he can look at least deflecting for his scouts and at least trying to snipe prelates as they come out. So PSiArc got 1 prelate being focused down, another one heading out. That will have 2 scouts, well, a scout on its tail. This will come down to the wire. Well, that's very smart. So Molt's going to be able to get it, I think. Yeah, he will. Meanwhile, PSiArc interrupting the gold gathering for now. So Molt not able to stack up some gold to get ready for double night production here. So it's going to be a bit rough for him. Meanwhile, PSiArc going for another prelate run. Will he get this one back home? He's managed to bring this relic most of the way. But Molt having a couple of his horsemen cleaned up by PSiArc's knights, so knight v horseman is definitely not a good trade. And more villagers being forced to garrison, while the Abbasid player really has to go on the defensive with the knight pressure on his doorstep. And this really smooth, really clean HRE play here from PSiArc. Other villagers forced to garrison, a lot of them running for their lives around the 2 town center stack, but Molt, his castle age finishing up now. He can add a mix of camel riders and knights himself. So camel riders, they're going to be an anti-knight melee cavalry, and on top of that you get some of your own knights a little bit cheaper. Actually no, same price, but a little bit more flexible against other units. Poor old Molt having to run villages around the town centre while the TCs focus down the knights. Here we go, camel riders finally out. PSiArc grabbing a couple more relics now. Picking up the one where he left off, and gonna grab another one as well. Cleaning up the last couple of horsemen of Molt's at the moment. So Molt, it's a really tough spot for him to be in. I mean, he's got all this safe resources together. Now that he's got some camel riders out, but he's going to need to make another pair of them before he gets some knights out as well. And in the meanwhile, he needs to make sure he doesn't drop any more villages, because PSiArc 37 vills, and with the relic advantage, Minimoult 39 vills, so he's really only just keeping his head above water. For all the extra villages he's made, he's lost some, and he still for now has a cavalry disadvantage. But bearing in mind, camel riders will beat knights 1-to-1, and he is about to start catching up in terms of his cavalry production. So things are now looking a little bit more uphill for Molt, but in saying that, PSiArc has managed to snare 2 relics. In fact, he's managed to put a 3rd in the outpost. So another benefit of HRE is that you can just put relics in any building and still reap the gathering. Well, not any building, sorry. In keeps, forts, and keeps, outposts, and town centers, and it boosts their attack and their range, while you basically still get the gathering benefit. So it's actually still better than putting it in a regular monastery, because it's a monastery plus a boosted tower effect. Then obviously there's risks involved if you're doing it aggressively, but you know, let's not get into that. Anyway, even though these camel riders should win the trade against the knights, there is now the crossbows here, from PSiArc. So Molt gonna have to retreat and add some ranges of his own, because he wants to try and get some archers to kill the crossbows. They will outrange them, so if you can fit them in. Oh, and this is a bit rough. He's got a lot of villagers idle here when he really needs to finish off the berries and start getting on another berries. Or has he got any more of his hunt left? He does. There is still one of the deer left, so he needs to get some of the villagers back on that. And in the meanwhile, PSiArc with his H3 is able to start capturing sacred sites. He's already got the 3 relics, I believe. 1, 2, and 3. And bearing in mind, that counts as 6 in the Regnants, because they are gonna do triple gold gen. Yeah, 600 a minute, that's ridiculous. So Molt, what does he do from here? He's got... what does he have in production? He's got a camel archer, but he hasn't really made much in the way of any more camel riders at this point. He's made he's got another 3 up here, but I think that's pretty much it. And he needs to get active on the map, or bring these guys back to defend immediately, because right now he's having to defend once again. And these knights with their heavy armor are a great unit for actually sitting under town center fire. Like, as you can see, they're only taking fairly minimal damage. So now we got the camel riders back in and a camel archer as well. So these guys also have a nice bonus against cavalry. So for a light unit, they actually fare quite well against cavalry, which is unusual, but the camels actually do unease any horseback units. But GG, Molt has to tap out. There's just not enough to defend. I think he knows he's just about to get pushed into